Let's my Cypher guide on split. We're going to start from defense on B. So the two cams I do on B. I'll show the first one, this one first. This is like the lesson in one. I do this one usually if they don't have a Sage, but I also will use it for some sort of certain setups where I'm trying to get kills at the front of sight. And the other cam I do is up here, which is a much more known one, which is when you stand on this box, or you can jump off the box and you can place one up here. It's just so you can see like their feet when they come out. They will usually shoot this one. But it just gives you a lot of info deep in garage, and also means they have to commit when they shoot it. They'll have to commit to a bit here, shoot it. So you actually have like a good idea of like where at least like 1 or 2 players are, or 1 player is going to be if they shoot it. Next we move on to the trips. So one trip I always basically do if I want to try and get a kill on B, it's going to be this one. But this always is really good at like getting control in B. I also combine this with a cage as well, sometimes, or a lot of the time. Other trips we can do, we can just do a basic trip here, which I use sometimes. I do it for a very specific play, or I do it when I'm rotating away from B, and the enemy team could easily rotate back into B, and I want to just like, I'll basically pick up a trip and then replace it here. Other trips you can do, if they don't have a Sage wall, you can do one pretty close to this box like this. It's pretty good because if they try to get covered by the box, they'll get triggered. They'll trigger the trap and then they're visible and spammable, which is pretty good. And there's also one here off this dustbin. However, it will get broken by a Sage wall, but it is pretty good at catching some players. It's not very good if they have a Sky, because the Sky will get it. A lot of these trips actually aren't. This is good if they've got the Sky, but the Sky won't trigger it. Or at least not in my experience. They definitely have the ability to, but they don't seem to do it. Then the other trip I usually do as well, or I can do as well, is this one. Very similar to the one off the dustbin over here, but it's a bit deeper. The only problem with this one is that they can jump on top of this box and get over it. So you don't want to leave it alone. Basically, you want to use this one. You want to be active in the site with it. For the cages, the one I'll do with this trip, or maybe even this trip, is this one. It just blocks off them coming into the site. It also means that a lot of the time people will stand in this corner if you use this trip. If you use this cage. So actually you can put up this cage, and if you know someone's already come out, you can just spam this, and sometimes you'll get kills using that spam. And then the other cage I do, I go into this door frame, and then I aim at this corner here and go a bit to the left. Oh, okay, sorry, not there you go. Bit to the left, there you go. One way. One way for B main, so when they come out they can't see you and you can see them. And that's it for B. We're going to go over to heaven. So on heaven I'll do 2 trips. The first trip is this one. It's just to defend heaven, basically stops them from coming in. And the other trip is this one. Basically anywhere in this sort of like on this tile basically. And what happens is the enemy team will, if they wide swing heaven, they're likely to hit that trip. And then someone stairs, or someone by the box, even someone over here maybe, with like maybe something with higher pen than this. Actually, you can pen it actually just a bit at this angle. Maybe not actually. It's kind of difficult, so maybe you need higher pen weapon, but you can punish them here as well. But yeah, it's main for these 2 angles anyway, and you can punish them in heaven. For the cam, there is a cam you can do up here. Which is fine. It will get shot from male. You can also do the opposite over here, but I don't particularly like these cams. I prefer them just to put them in B anyway, especially because this cam over here can actually see into heaven anyway. So you actually have that cam is probably the best cam anyway for looking at heaven anyway. For me, in my experience. If we're looking at B, in mid. Sorry, if we're looking at mid, I actually do make a play mid, but it's very specific. So what I do is I will place this trip here, and I will also place this cam here. So the one we placed in before. And then I'll go mid with my Sky at the start of the round, and I'll ask the Sky if they can dog mid. And the reason why, or even like or flash up mid, so then I know if there's presence or not. It just depends on what they want to do. Ideally, I think you want to use the flash, not the dog, because the dog has a bit more value than what you're going to do. So use the flash to see if there's anyone mid. If there's no one mid, what I'll do is I'll walk up into this position here, and I'll place a trip equal with this door handle on this like green like wall here, like pretty much equal with this, and that will just give me a nice trip, as you can see. and I'll tuck myself in this corner, and I'll play for mid control. And with this trip here, we also have a decent amount of B control, not a large amount, but I'll see them coming with the cam as well. So every so often I can check this cam. So I have a lot of control over the map, right? I have a bit of B main, information, and I have a lot of I have a decent amount of control mid. I can keep the sky here as well to bring off me. So we have some really strong mid presence with this. And what will happen is if they walk into the trip, you can shoot them through the box. You can swing them slightly and shoot them, and then you can place a cage here, and you have options with being able to walk through and go to this side, or you can just walk away. Ideally, place another cage. And get out through heaven, through mail, because it's going to be risky with this trip, with this cage at least. But you can probably get one. You can also place it so you can get out through vents if you want to do that. But I probably would recommend just going up to mail, towards your sky and towards your setup. So next we're going to go over to A. So on A, on heaven, there are a couple of cams that people know, but this cam is the best one, I think. So what it does is just exactly the same as what it was in like B main, where you can see their legs before they see the cam. You can get some info here. You can also see a tiny bit of sight when they come out as well, although it's not really that great because they're going to be smoking this, so it's not really that relevant. But it is something to bear in mind if maybe they don't have smokes, or the smoke slide early or something, or it's like a random situation you might find yourself in where they don't have a way to smoke this or something. But it is a good cam on heaven. There is also some trips you can do. There's this trip here, which is completely fine, but if you want to also defend from vents, so say if you have a sage that wants to do a sage wall on B tower like this or something, then you probably want to place a trip like this, and that way it defends this position and this position. It has a weakness where they can go from this position, from ramp, and walk vents. That's why you probably want to have this cam with this as well, a lot of the time, because it really helps to defend this area. And that's pretty much it for heaven. I don't actually have any cages for heaven, but I'm sure there's probably a cage you can get. Actually, I don't know. There's any good cages. Maybe on this side. Maybe you can get it on this light. No, okay, you can't. Yeah, okay. I haven't really looked at any cages on heaven. I'm guessing you can. When you can just place one here, right, to smoke it off if you want to. On heaven is a thing you can do. On A, so on A, I do have a couple of things I do. I have this trip here that I play sometimes. It can get jumped over pretty easily, but most of the time people are going to be fighting in this area, so the last thing they'll do is jump around this corner. Otherwise, if I'm skeptical about them jumping over and things, I will put one like down the ramp a bit here, but it does mean that they can walk into this position without being known, and then just like abuse the fact that the trip won't detect them there. There is also a trip on here. I was going to show the cam, but then I realized I have this trip. So this trip is pretty strong as well. Stops them from going straight sight, and it detects them. So it detects them here, and they'll be visible from screen. They'll be visible from heaven. They'll be visible from sight. So pretty good trip. You can also do ones quite close as well to you, like this, which can be quite strong. Usually you'll have like a cage here as well, and you can have a cage here too, and you can stop them from coming into sight very easily, which is really good. And then we'll talk about the cams. I've just talked about 2 Cypher cages you can do as well. And then we'll talk about the cam. So there's a cam here you can do, which you can see through the to the window. But they can't shoot back. They can't shoot it as well because it's impenetrable. So that's pretty good, potentially. There's also a cam here, but I think it's a bit of a bugged cam. But basically it sees main on the right there, which is pretty good. Pretty strong cam. And that's kind of it for defense, I think. I'm not going to talk about my ult, or like Cypher ult, because it's one of those things where you can play for a pick and get your ult and use it to like find where the rest of the players are, or you can use it, like, it's very situational the way you use it, right, because you have to get a kill. And you can either look for that kill with your teammates, right? You can ask your teammates to like make a play, or you can like tag along on a play to then ult. That sort of stuff is how you can use your ult. So yeah, I'll see you on attack. Okay, so on attack, we're going to start off with A. So the trips I'll do on A, on attack, it's going to be this one. It's the only one I do. And the reason why it's the only one I do is because usually I'm going to have a map control trip over here, and it really varies what rounds I do that on. So on the pistol, for instance, I'm going to have one trip. So I'm placing it here for anti-flank on A. I'll also do a cam like this, and this cam will get some nice info. And don't worry about your cam being destroyed early on. The idea of the cam is to just get early info, and if it dies, it dies. It's completely fine. It's completely fine. You might even get it back later on in the round. When it comes to cams, when it comes to cages, I don't really have any cages. I've got one like this that I throw sometimes, just to cross away from, just to get through this area if you want to go all sight. It stops players from like pushing and seeing us. But aside from that, don't really have anything else like coming into A. Sometimes you can do like free throwing like cages like this. I can help you get into the site too. And then if I happen to have a second trip, which very rarely happens, I'll probably place one like this, just to like defend the site and stuff like that on retake. Maybe I'll place them in actual like doorways too. I can place them like here for heaven. I can place them here for screen. That sort of stuff you can do, but not really. I don't really tend to do them, but they are strong when you do them, especially if you don't do them very often and the enemy team don't expect it. Then I'm going to show you like the counterpart to this sort of trip here. So what usually happens is if we go B, if we're going B, then I'm usually going to do this trip like this. Place it like on that part of like the splat here. I'm not sure how to explain like the art on the wall. And that is pretty good, but you may notice that if they come from B, they can get over it. So what I do if we're not going B, I put it here instead. I put it on the top right of this panel. And people can see it before the barrier, after the barrier drops if they're peeking this. So I do it before the barrier drops if possible. So usually when if I have to place both trips, which I usually do quite a bit on split, I try to do both trips every time on split, because it gives me a lot of map control. No matter where we're going, we're going to have the extremities defensively watched essentially by the trips. And this trip just we'll make sure we place this one first, and then I run over to A usually. So these trips sort of allow us to do multiple things. Our teammates can go B and they'll be defended from the flank, and then they'll also be defended from A. So that means I can do a nice lurk into mid if I want to. If my teammates decide to go mid, then they'll be protected on the flanks by both of the trips. I can go with the mid. I can go on to one of the extremities. Usually I'll choose A main. A main is much better for lurking on. The reason why is because you can do this cage here. Which is what I forgot to mention. You can do this cage here. So then this cage is really strong default cage. Actually, you probably should get a lineup for it, because what it can do is basically it makes the player playing screens, or the player that's watching this area, ask a question if you've crossed or not, and that's a really good question that you want them to ask, because they won't have a good enough answer unless they get actual info, commit potential util there, or commit them to like a peek maybe from ramps. Or something, asking a teammate to peek ramps or something, which can get them killed potentially. So it's really, really strong to like throw this cage, and because you can choose to lurk or ramp with it, you can choose to go back from it and then have some pressure on A still. I do need to get a lineup for it. That is definitely something that I've just realised that I don't have. Whenever I do use it, I just throw it like this. I just throw it like this. I'm chilling. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes for attack on A, and like general like map play on Cypher, where if I'm lurking, I want to be obviously away from my teammates, but on the bright side they'll be defended by the trips. So if they go B, they'll be defended by the trip. I have free reign in mid, I'll be defended by this trip. My teammates are defended by this trip. So we're all good. I'm also defending my teammates as well from any mid pushes. And when I'm lurking mid, if there's a wall here, I tend to lurk mid a lot less. I tend to let my teammates go mid a lot, so they can break the wall. If there is no wall mid, then I tend to do cages like this to get through into having a fight here, or I'll do one like this to get through into vents. They're very simple, self-explanatory type of things. And if I happen to be lurking in B main, I tend to be quite slow and wait for my teammates to kind of make pressure. And when they've made pressure, I either join them in the attack on B, or if they decide to go A through vents or A main, then I'm going to do a very slow lurk through B main and flank. And that's kind of it for like attack, I think. I do have some, actually I didn't really show too much on B, so let me just show some cams on B I do. Is this one. It's pretty decent for like getting some info deep into sight. Otherwise, if we get to like a retake position, I might just put it here next to where the bomb should be planted, a bit here. Sometimes it planted. A lot of the time it's planted here. Sometimes it's planted here. This cam is pretty good when it's planted here. All you do is you just don't use it until they tap, basically, and then when they tap, you just tag them. It's pretty strong, or it can be pretty good. And that's kind of it for Split overall. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'm sorry it may be a bit of a short video. I am aiming to upload less and to get better quality videos. In the aim of getting better quality videos anyway, because I feel like my quality has been lacking for a decent amount of time, which I should definitely try and fix. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one.